Chris Jones.
Yeah.
How are you? Good, it's a new school year.
No one else will.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Todd, I know you're not.
Okay.
Telegraph.
He's still in Lawrence. Did you ever hear from John Friedman?
No, I did not.
Okay.
I actually frankly expected it, because they're, no. Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Tom.
Hey, Tom.
Hi, Tom.
Hello.
That's
great. Okay. It's really great. It's my favorite thing.
There's a minion we can do with it,
Your
just saying.
fall flowers, the yellow looks so nice.
So good afternoon, HDC board members. I'm calling the October board meeting to order of the Hudson Development Corporation. We are on Zoom and we're recording this meeting, as you know, so we can post it to our YouTube site for further review in the future. Thank you all for your service to Hudson. Appreciate your time and thoughts and energy. We, as usual, circulated the financial documents and the minutes around for your review. And if there are any comments, this would be the time on the September minutes. Anyone want to add or subtract anything? Okay, if not, can I have a motion? Paul, first, second? Britt? Britt. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the minutes are ratified for September. This is Brian Fuhrer. He's, he lives in Hudson, and he is, I met him at the Maker Gym, and we are talking about the work that HDC does, and so he's come today to sit in and listen to our board meeting as a member of the public. Say hello. Welcome.
Hi, nice to meet you all.
Our names are all out. Before we start, a bit of really good news. I received a check today, a grant check for $1,000. I thought it was $1 million first, but it was only $1,000. Wishful thinking. From Schwab Charitable. It was donated to us by a Hudson citizen named David Bird. It can be used for wherever it's most needed. So I'm gonna pass that check over to Phil. Thank you, David, and I will write him a
He's
nice,
our neighbor on Union
I'm
Street.
writing him a nice thank you note.
Nice guy.
Yeah, that's a very nice thing to do.
That's great.
We're entering into our 4th month of our 6 months of due diligence on the John L. Edwards building. I hung some of the floor plans up so you could have a peek at them if you wanna get close. They're based on the current floor plans of the school building as it exists. The one in the corner is also a test fit for the city hall, which is kind of laid out according to the feasibility study. We are awaiting today the 3 bids from the hazardous waste people to give us an estimate on remediating the hazardous materials in the building. And, we assume that the electrical, mechanical, and plumbing infrastructure that was in place for the school, it was enough for the school building, for the 80,000 square feet. And we expect that's still the case. But for now, pending further discovery, it's assumed that the systems supplying the building are adequate, as they are. Water and sewer and electric and natural gas being part of that. A new electrical and HVAC system will have to be put into the building though, because the system has been shut down, for a long time, and it is really quite antiquated in its efficiency. We did hold a site visit with the 3 companies that are putting together their bids. Representatives of those companies came in person and they really gave the building a once-over with us, walking through with Nick and with Joe Rapp. They poked and pointed things out, and they discussed things with each other, which we thought was really good. And one of the gentlemen in that group suggested to us that all of the built-ins in the building that are there that we were thinking could maybe stay would have to be removed, like the cubbies, all of the built-in counters and sinks in the rooms that are wood that were low, and all the light fixtures have to go, and all the doors. So he suggested that if the remediation people can do that, but they get quite a lot of money per hour, and it would be better use of our time before they begin to go in with the demolition crew, get 3 estimates from some demo crews, go in and take that stuff out. He also said you might want to get Nick said this, he said we could get a trailer and put it in front of the building, and store the doors and the windows and anything else not windows, but anything else that would be coming out before the remediation starts, so that we could maybe repurpose that later. So we're looking into that.
Why do they have to be, demoed, or can they be reused?
They can be reused, they just need to be taken out of the
They
building.
need to be
Yeah,
removed.
I use the word demo incorrectly, yeah.
And the demolition, of course, will take place with the remediation / demolition.
But like all the glass above the classrooms, that kind of thing has to come out.
It has to come out just so the
It does
remediators can do
Yeah,
successful
and
work,
the-
not because
yeah.
it's contaminated.
Yeah.
And we can
And he gave us stories about how people take the lights out because the ceiling, these would have to come out because they're gonna take that down. One group of people stored the lights, they had to go to great lengths to clean and store the lights in a truck, and then 6 months later, they just said, oh, get rid of them, because they didn't have a way to use them. So we'll have to come to grips with, we probably will be changing the lighting, but maybe we can sell the lighting to someone else who could use it. So any questions on that?
I think we'll try to, if assuming we do this and get it underway, we'll try to repurpose as much as makes sense or is practical. Those cubbies, are a small fortune to build.
They're beautiful.
They're all finger jointed, it's beautiful stuff. But
Is any or some of the work we're describing designated as pre-final contract or post-final contract, the work you're talking
I think
about?
it's post-final.
Okay.
Yeah, like we couldn't even, we have maybe a lead on some free trailers that we could get. Storage, what do you call them? Containers. Free
Containers,
containers. Like 4 that we could put on the grounds, but since we don't own the building, we can't do that. So, this is all post, I think. There is a small oil leak in the boiler room, which is, I call it, it's very small, it's a drip, but drips add up to like oceans eventually. I've made the facilities, Tyler Kritzman, aware of this a couple of times. The first time it came to my attention was in July. And he said he fixed it, and then they threw kitty litter down, which they do to soak it up. And the 3 times we've been back, there's more kitty litter and more of a stain. So I contacted him again, and I said, you have to really get this taken care of, because the environmental people called it to my attention and created a scenario that we would never want to participate in, which would be if a leak happens of any great size, it's designated in perpetuity as a leak site, if there was an issue. So we don't want that, and he said if it leaks into the corner of where the building joins the ground and goes in the ground, that's even worse. So it is interesting because the boiler room is below ground and the oil tank is above the boiler room, so there's gravity of the 10,000-gallon tank pushing down on that room, and one little drip, 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 and it's a tiny little pipe, but it's not right. So I sent an email to Crystal and asked her to please get in touch with the Ginger Benedict, who's the school district's attorney, and let her know that that really needs to be taken care of, because it's a big liability for them. So at this point, preliminarily, we don't have a scope of work for construction. We are knowing that we will be demoing the building inside after the remediation takes place. But it would be helpful to have for our pro forma a probable construction cost ranges for the adaptive reuse of this building. A way to describe what we're looking for is make it up to a modern office or school use, which is a level of build that's not, luxury, exceptionally classic. It's pretty straightforward. Britt, fellow board member Britt, introduced us to a firm that she's worked with, Andron Construction Corporation, and they're in Golden's Bridge, and Joel Foley, one of their team, came and met with us, the building committee, and Britt, and he had talked us through some of the things that we should be thinking about, and the brochure for their company is over there if you want to look at it. He has the floor plans, we sent him the floor plans, we sent him kind of the scope of what we're looking to do. And he's putting together an estimate of what it would be, a range of an estimate of what it would be to rebuild the interior of the school. His estimate will be back, I think, sometime in the middle of next month, which is a fairly big, it's a pretty big, tall order, so we have Britt to thank for that. Thank you very much. Really helpful. Of course, it will not be the final way that we go about coming up with the estimates. We'll have to get 3 estimates. And I would say that they will most certainly be one of the people that would estimate on it. We are continuing to research ongoing grant writing efforts towards asbestos and remediation expenses and HVAC system, and we can discuss that a bit later. We had another focus group with Hudsonians with the PowerPoint that Britt created that was very helpful, much more pointed and focused on our message. Jill Henley put together a group of 3 or 4 people. There were many more people, but many of them couldn't come in the last minute. But the ex-principal of John L. Edwards came, and it was Carol Gans, and it was very interesting to hear her take on, the building and what she could tell us about it. And she's coming up with some pictures of kids in the school over the years that, is just general for us to have going forward. We continue to have resounding support for the daycare idea in every way. This is just one of the most much needed services for Hudson and the surrounding area. The youth department's use of the gymnasium and the adjacent space inside and outside the building for youth engagement programs is also quite a popular commentary in these groups. People want to talk about that. And that's for the youth department, it's about 18,000 square feet of space. There's continued desire for centralized public common space and civic engagement in the auditorium, where people could come and have meetings and give presentations. And Carol toured the building with us with these engineers, and we found a room that we didn't know was there. There's a safe, which is a brick room with a door with a safe combination, and the combination is taped with thousands of pieces of tape to the front door, so they don't lose it. But it was good to hear her tell us the story. And as you may remember, CEDC, County Economic Development Corp, has graciously given us 10 hours with a business consultant. Thank you, Martha.
You're welcome.
Ryan Zweig, to help us create the pro forma. The executive committee met with him to talk through what we're needing and what we have and where our hurdles are. And he is beginning to work on the pro forma. He is waiting for us to come up with some of the costs affiliated with what he needs to put in there, what we just were discussing, the cost for the remediation and construction and mechanicals. So we're underway with that. I also met with Mayor Johnson in his office this week, and I'll tell you more about that in a minute. Finally, I've been unable to secure a business roundtable speaker for September and October. Sad. It seems that this time of year is too busy in Hudson. I think what some people in the business community have suggested we might wanna do is just do a get together, like a mingle, where we get together for coffee and let people talk about their experiences in the summer, fall business climate in Hudson. And maybe we'll get some on the street thinking for what's been going on and what's good, what's not good. But if you do have a name of a speaker that pops in front of your face in your world, please let me know. For December and January, we could get that going. And that's my report. Any questions? Any comments? Okay, with that, I'm gonna turn it over to our treasurer, Phil Foreman, for the October financial report.
Terrific. Thank you all last month for approving the 3-year projections that went into the power system and were cheerfully accepted. Our current, I know I sent out email. Does anyone want paper copies or oh, you can. You're always ahead of me. I'm always behind you.
Jan's got a big copy of the screen.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
This is the income statement of activity. The changes are, as you would expect, in terms of professional services that we've been deploying to move through this stage of vetting the building and determining issues and costs that we might expect going forward. That has, I think, gone amazingly well. We brought in great people, but it's costly. Even if you take out UHY and so on, we're still spending more in that one area than we're actually generating income from our portfolio. That said, we're still in pretty good shape. We certainly are robust through the end of the year. I predict that if you include the cash and bonds in hand that are with our broker advisors, as well as the $115,000 that is currently in escrow with the school board's attorney, pending contract and final purchase. We're not far off from where we started, which is stunning. And so
That's good.
it's a very good thing. It is. So we absolutely have the dough to keep on trucking, and we absolutely do have the cash to move forward with the sale and the bridging. On the other hand, we just have to be aware of as we spend additional monies prior to finalizing the contract, just be conscious that we're putting stuff out that may or may not be easily recovered.
And I will just offer as an aside here, off the treasurer's good comments, that like any real estate transaction, we are going to get to a place where we will be negotiating with the school board on the purchase price, I believe.
For sure.
Okay.
Unless you all have questions or comments, I would ask that you approve this budget. It was finalized basically October 18th. We needed to have a budget early out for a couple other purposes. And we'll have another budget to review next month.
Is that 150,000, does that appear anywhere on our statements?
It's on the second page here.
Oh, I see it, thank you.
May I have a motion to approve the income statement of financial position?
Second, Britt.
All in favor?
Aye. Opposed? Thank you, Bill.
One more item, which is our auditors, UHY. I cannot believe how fast the year goes by.
I know, here we are again.
But we're back in the game, exchanging information in preparation for the audit, which is slightly horrifying. I thought I just finished the last one. They have sent, at my invitation, a letter to be reinstated. As you probably know, they have been quite, well, first of all, I think they do a super job. I did ask them for critiques of our process, which is part of what they do for us. I'm not gonna brag, but it was pretty positive. They asked that I incorporate in the process 2 other elements, which they mentioned that need to be addressed going forward. They want an indication that in addition to our bookkeeper, Sue, that I keep a record of having reviewed the journal entries
Okay,
and confirm that in the form of an email to Sue, which is sufficient.
okay,
Within that, journal entries are encompass all the bank statements. So it covers both of those things. And other than that,
and the Babcock statements?
Babcock is part of it, but with Babcock, they don't just go to me and Sue. They go directly to Babcock
Oh, they
and
do, okay.
ask for a letter from Babcock warranting
Okay,
their statements
okay,
and our current
okay,
position.
that's good,
So it's a slightly different level of vetting.
okay.
Anyway,
So they didn't ask to see our candy budget, I hope?
no, I'm serious, there are no issues.
Okay.
Unfortunately,
We're over the budget already, I'm
No.
gonna say.
we've done fine on the process, we can always do better.
Okay.
Part of their job is to test everything that we present. And I don't know if you all remember how much fun this is, but they have a couple people who pick out singular items from pretty much anywhere in the historic statements and ask us to justify or tell a story about that particular item. So they do a great job. I recommend to the board that we reinstate UHY as our auditor going forward. It takes a long time to get everybody to know one another's business
So-
in this process.
So can I have a motion to reinstate UHY as our auditor for this year?
So moved.
Martha first, second, Paul, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Super, thanks for that, Chris.
you go. When do we bring in, Julie Marshall? Is she for the, if she's? for
She's
the-
Paris.
Yes,
We may have some questions related
To audit.
to not so much the audit, when she's really an expert on Paris, and she usually doesn't come into the game until January.
okay. All right, good. Okay, any questions on that? Any aspect of our financial situation? Thanks, Bill. Okay, so we're gonna go into the rest of the agenda now, moving along smoothly here. This is mostly about the building today. The school discovery to date, our due diligence period has revealed to everyone, not to everyone's surprise, but has revealed a lot more is wrong with the building than initially seemed apparent, having to do with the way that it was shut down abruptly and not really shut down correctly. It didn't, the plumbing was not blown out or winterized when they shut the water off. So we don't know what the situation is with the plumbing. It hasn't been turned on since 2019. George Keeler, who was the facilities director for the school for many years, I don't know, since it began.
I mean,
When
as
it was
long as
built?
I knew.
Yeah, so we have gotten his phone number and I've made contact with him, and Nick and I are gonna have a coffee with him this afternoon to just sort of ask a bunch of general questions without any finger pointing or anything, but just to understand some things that we need to know more about. And that'll be very helpful. We did think we could remediate the asbestos the way the rooms were laid out, partly because we're not sophisticated at this particular kind of remediation, but also because it was wishful thinking. So the building will really, if we go forward, the building will be basically an empty shell. It'll get down to a place where all of the toxins are removed, and every day there will be readings on that, and there will be containment vehicles outside that they move the items to and then move them out. It's a pretty big process, but once it's done, it'll be an empty box again on all the floors except for the gymnasium. At that point in time, we'll have to consider new mechanicals, new plumbing, and new electric, and we're getting estimates on these, as I said earlier, so this will be forming the picture of what the building is and what it's gonna be able to do in the future. If anybody wants to be involved in this kind of thinking about the building as we move into the next phase, raise your hand, we'd love to have you. The building committee is Nick, Chip Bowl, and Joe Rapp, and Jen Crawford is on the committee, and Britt, and they're working hard, so if anybody wants to, I'll send out emails when we're doing things, and if you wanna come and see and do and get into it, we'd love to have you. The tenant fits. As you remember, we have a childcare fit floor plan, which is over there, and I actually asked Chip to go ahead and use the feasibility study, which has the city hall on the top floor, and I asked him to put together, here, pass these around. And this is the daycare kit too, for people who want to see that. In the feasibility study, it was laid out pretty straightforwardly. It's on the top floor. It has a middle entrance. It is, as we've been looking at the building even more now, the building is kind of presenting itself as there's the auditorium entrance, which would be the public entrance, and then there's the middle entrance, which would be the city hall entrance, and because that's right directly across from the elevator. And the elevator would be the entrance to city hall. So
Is it that?
it's that one in the corner over there, yeah. It would make the city hall 88 compliant.
Yeah, because daycare has to be in
Yeah,
I know.
daycare and city hall, there's two different ones. Yeah.
Right.
Daycare, as you remember, is on the ground floor. It's in the middle of the building where the windows are. We would be converting a couple of the door windows into doors for entrances for daycare. Now that we know we're gonna be gutting the building, basically, these rooms are not, they won't be this is based on what the floor plan is now, but, so that will change, but the number of children is still very viable, up to 113 or 15. There was a period of time where I was thinking maybe we needed to make it, if we could make it bigger, would that be a good thing, more childcare? And the childcare of Woodstock they think more childcare would be good, but their biggest hurdle is finding people to work in the childcare situation, to have enough workers in childcare, because that's a very difficult tall order. So this is pretty much probably the size that the daycare center should be in this.
How many people would they need for this many children?
I don't have that at the top of my head, but different ages, like in the infant room, which is a big need, the infant room, you have to have 4 workers for 6 kids, which is, heavy. Here's a daycare. Here's study offices, different scope. I don't want to get everybody confused. But when we discussed in the feasibility study, putting the city hall in the top floor, which is what you have, that's 15,000 square feet. It would put all the departments on the second floor, and it would have its own entrance, which, as I said, is in the middle and across from the elevator. And it would be very convenient for citizens to interact with city government that way. It would also be convenient for the city government to work together, which is a good thing. But I met with Kamal because we're at a critical place in understanding how the building will be used and how we'll finance and get grants to do this work. I met with him, presented this test fit, and told him that it's really preliminary and it's not set in stone in any way, but it would be the location we would be proposing for City Hall to be in. And it could be configured differently once it's gutted for asbestos. The rooms could be set up a different way, but it allows for all the departments to be there. It gives the mayor a conference room and an ante room for his assistant.
Excuse me, Chris, do you have more sheets on the 3rd floor?
No,
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay.
The city hall?
Yeah.
Here's a different one, it's smaller. Here's a different one.
Do you want me to bring this big one
This is
over?
the report with
Yeah.
this wing on it.
Oh, gotcha, okay, right.
You want to all have a copy?
Yeah, here, this is city office one.
That's the top, so this was just to reduce.
Yeah, it's just smaller.
Same thing.
Two different sizes.
Got it.
Well, let's come all feedback.
What?
Well, let's come all feedback when you said
Well,
to have all these different orientations, already.
I said to him, you know, we're at a critical point understanding our financial situation. When we do this city hall, when we do this,
Yeah, this is the top floor.
Don't trip. So, in talking with Jess and with, understanding our grants and also thinking about our financing, how we're gonna finance this with banks. And also having these meetings with citizens, they say, is City Hall moving in, are they not moving in? Well, if they're moving in, it's a, you know, where are they gonna go? They're very curious about that, they like the idea of City Hall being in the building, but it's confusing to them why we don't know if they're going to move in. So, also in our grant writing, some of these grants are municipal grants. They're grants that the city writes, we would write them and the city would submit them under municipal auspices. The DRI grant was a case in point. And if they're moving in the building, they can't do that. We can't do that, or they can't get that grant. So it's sort of a catch-22 about, are they in? If they're in, then we'll go for the grants that we know we can get or that we think we can get, where that's allowed. And if they're not in, they can submit grants on our behalf for money, you know, and we would then begin looking for another 15,000 square foot tenant to take up that space. That might be somebody like Columbia Green Community College, they might want that whole top floor. I don't know if they haven't, you know, we haven't done that yet, we're not moving that far. Anyway, Kamal has always been in favor of this idea. He has said he was in support of it. His main concern is what financial ramifications would be for the city. So he is organizing a meeting with Heather Campbell for us in the next week or so to try to have a conversation about the financial ramifications of this. We've always assumed that the city would sell 3 buildings, this building, City Hall, and the youth department. The youth department has a deed which states that any money that is gotten from the sale of the building continues to stay with the youth department, which would be okay, because that money could come over to the youth department in this building. You know, our estimate for what just a ballpark for selling 3 buildings to put them back on the tax rolls, get them in development for other uses would be somewhere between 4 and 6 million for those buildings, the 3 of them. Of course, the market's always changing and, you know, it's not the pandemic, we could have gotten more earlier, but I do think that would be a really good thing for the city to sell off that real estate and get themselves into a situation where it's modern and forward-thinking and accessible and, you know, clean.
And it also makes it attractive as a partner. They're a tax collecting entity, which
Thank
makes you very attractive to lenders as opposed to private, you know, municipalities, so it's.
So, you know, in real estate, you know, we talk about, we don't have a contract, but we are acting as if we are going to have one, and we're moving positively forward in that direction. And that's kind of where we need the city to be with us. We need them to agree that, that in theory, this would be a great thing to do. And so far we haven't. Kamal said he's in favor of it, and I know Tom is in favor of it because he's been pushing it since we didn't even know we were gonna do it. So, thank you, Tom. I do think it's time for us to, you know, really kind of get real with the city. I think we need to know. So we'll look forward to that meeting with Heather and go from there. Any questions, ideas? Anybody have any ideas?
I'd like to. The irony is that we're faced with a shuttered school, and our focus group last week.
Yeah.
Or was it a week ago or so, Jill?
A week, yeah.
a number of the people attending, or at least one of them, was in charge of school attendance. And she mentioned that the Montgomery Smith, which is the elementary school, has outstripped its capacity for students. There are more children coming into the school district.
Every day.
Every day, she goes, there are more and more and more children where we have run out of space to put them all. And I would thought to myself, my goodness, had this building been left in situ, heated, maintained and so forth, what does,
Could have gone back into it.
theoretically, it's ironic, isn't it? I mean, but we didn't know that. I don't know if anybody here who has children that in the school system or friends that do. But we thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
But it was there was nothing short of a total endorsement on the part of the people in this focus group, how important it was to them, almost emotionally, that the school be repurposed and be back as a centerpiece for the community again,
As a Hudson asset.
as an
Strong
asset,
asset.
yeah. It's really important.
Okay, the next on the agenda is our pro forma, which I touched on before. This is the most complicated thing that we're trying to do. We did use John Friedman's original pro forma, which he put together in the early days. And these numbers are gonna come in. We're gonna have to at some point get to an estimate of what per square foot cost would be for each floor. And I think in terms of making a pro forma, they always say garbage in, garbage out, so we don't wanna do that, but I think we should be assigning, this is something you should just pass around, this is an aerial view of the floors and the square footage. Chip's estimate, having put together the daycare and the youth department, and the city hall and the youth department, we're somewhere at like 72% of the space is used, so we're doing a pretty good job of heating up the building, which we thought would be so gigantic that we would have trouble finding enough tenants. But I think we should be assigning, based on the going rate of per square foot in Hudson, a different per square foot rate for each floor as its value, as its value is presented. Like the ground floor has one value, and then the city offices will have a different value, and the youth department would have a different value. But coming up with, working with a few people in real estate and in commercial real estate specifically, to kind of get a ballpark for per square foot costs for each of our floors, and then we'll use that as a working number until we have a better number. And that would be the goal for the pro forma. Brian has been very helpful. I think we only took a half an hour. No, we put the meter on, 1 hour, we're done. Okay, we only have 10 free hours. But I said to him that we need to wait a little with him because we don't have the numbers. And, working on it. So that's where that stands. Grant writing, Jess and I had a nice meeting, and you wanna talk a little bit about grants, where we are, what do you think?
Sure, not much to report, we're waiting, we're awaiting notification from the state round grants, and we're gearing up for the next round, which means gathering the new budget items and honing down that budget narrative for remediation to approach USDA and NYSERDA for some of these energy grants and community facilities adapted reuse from USDA. So gathering, moving forward.
So I think we did, I don't know if the board knows that we didn't get the Kubota grant, we didn't get that, right?
Yeah, that was announced a while back.
Okay, yeah.
There was just one from the Northeast region, and it was
Who got it?
an accessible hiking trail.
It wasn't us.
That's okay, that was not
That's
a
okay, you
huge
gotta lose a
number.
couple before you get one.
The other ones were going for like $1 million, 100,000, 650,000.
So those should, by the end of the year, apparently.
Yeah.
Don't expect to hear anything imminently, but soon. Fingers crossed.
Okay, the community outreach continues. If any of you have a group of people that you would like to get together for a conversation with us, we have this PowerPoint which we use to present the ideas and the spatial images and stuff, and that was really helpful.
It went smoother.
Huh?
It went smoother.
It went really smoothly. It was really helpful. Thank you. It looks very modern too.
Yeah,
We
great
look-
graphics.
It's supposed to look mid-century modern.
Well, it does.
That's what it looked.
I was alive in the mid-century, so yes. Yeah, no, it's, yeah, no, it was really helpful, I appreciate that. It's a really interesting thing to attend and hear everybody's point of view on the building and what they're worried about. The one thing that everyone has brought up, to a person is, what about the parking? And, you know, we think there's plenty of parking there, and, you know, Carol Gans, the principal, said, oh, on some days we had to park our cars up over on the city lot where there was glass, and then our tires didn't, you know, nobody wanted to park up there because when all the teachers were there, and, you know, that was a lot of cars. So I think there's enough parking
The lot across the street on State Street,
on the corner.
yeah, that's
But it's private.
it's owned by the city.
No,
It's
the
a-
top part,
I think it's
the
anyone can
top
park.
part's owned by the county.
Yeah,
The county lot, yeah.
Yeah, the county lot.
County lot.
No,
It's not a county lot,
It's
it's a
not.
city lot, and we plan on building on it.
you plan on building on it, okay, because I was gonna
The
say,
top part then? On Sixth
Yes,
Street
top
side?
part, the
Yeah.
lower part is Galvin.
It's Galvin.
Yeah.
For evening
Because
meetings,
you
like
park
common
there
council
during
meetings,
the
the
day,
county has
it's a
allowed
city lot.
in the past
Yeah.
is to
Well,
use
what's
their
the city wants to build on it?
Yeah.
They wanna build housing.
Well, housing, I mean, housing, but the city's not building it.
No.
No, that's what I'm,
But you wanna sell the lot to a developer.
to a developer.
It's in,
It's the,
I mean,
yeah, there's drawings for it.
do you follow anything in the city?
I do, I
Yeah.
know the entrance is on partition, on the alley,
Well, it's in design process, but yeah.
but that
City
is
lot,
currently
yeah, that was where
parking
the-
if that
That's where the
deal doesn't
Fourth
go
Street
through.
School was.
Yeah.
The old Fourth Street School, they got burned down.
Okay. Are you raising your hand?
No one's stretching
Okay. The chair recognizes Phil Foreman. Oh.
for stretching.
Okay, so our next on our agenda here is board terms and the bylaw revisions. I would say the sentence for this is, Houston, we have a problem.
Hopefully we can fix it.
And in our last meeting, I mentioned that 7 members of the board have terms that expire March of next year. I believe this is because of an incident around the development of the Cas warehouse where half the board left and then we re-upped the board. And so people's terms are in sync with each other and they never should be. That said, we should have been paying more attention to this. And we could have remedied it earlier, but I think we're going to work on, I was gonna say, I was gonna propose something today, but I think we need to do a little more due diligence on how we would do this. But the people whose terms are coming to an end on March 1st are Paul Colarusso, the 2 Pauls, Bill Foreman, Nick, myself, and Seth Roadway. So we're gonna have to come up with a solution. Martha, do you wanna help with that?
Oh, yes.
You know, we talked about
Okay, good. No, oh, wait, did I make myself clear? Okay.
We did have a long discussion about this, and it was Steve who felt that the plan we had for staggering terms was flawed, and then.
Oh, it was it?
Yeah,
It's
so we
still
didn't move forward.
All right, well, any help you can give us would be appreciated. Until we get our board back on a reasonable timetable of who's serving when, we do need to add new members to the board. And I think there's a lot of new expertise in Hudson, and Brian is a person that is one of these people who is a civic-minded individual, lives in Hudson, moved from Tivoli, I'll circulate his CV when he gives it to me.
Yeah, I'm delayed, sorry. Sorry on that.
And I find his interest in what we're talking about doing is really good. And and there's another person that I've talked to a little bit. So the nominating committee, we need to try to get a meeting together where maybe we'll have a couple people come and meet with the nominating committee, and you can, you know, kick it around, because we should add more board members, and we'll stagger them from the start. All right? New business, anything we want to talk about in the new business area? Anybody have any new business to ask or do? All right, so, executive committee, are you all cool?
For the most
Is there
part.
anything you,
I
not totally
mean,
cool?
well,
Are you a little cool?
I'm pretty cool. The thing is that we're spending a lot of time on this school, which is great, but it shouldn't take us away from what we're empowered to do as well, which is, pushing, business in Hudson
Right.
and betterment of the business community and quality of life and so forth. But we seem to be pretty focused right now, drilling down on JLE, and I guess that's to be expected, given how big a project it is and how much it will change what we do.
It has reconnected us in a really strong way
Yeah.
with a lot of community departments and people and organizations, and we've heard their need more than we ever have, I think, from, people like Columbia Green. They've told us all that what their need is for education in Hudson and how difficult it is to get people to come over. Jan was just talking about the hospital has the staffing issues and training that some of the nurses that are there that are in training have trouble getting over to the college for the classes, and so maybe the school would want to consider bringing nursing over to the building. They haven't said that to begin with, that this would come from Jan's experience and our thinking to ask for that. Would that be possible? But, we have been very.
Yeah. But the focus groups with the school alone, that because the people that attend them go within the school system itself and talk us up or talk up this project, which is getting some legs, we think, or hopefully.
It does feel like a giant marble every year, I must say.
It's a big one. But the thing is, too, is that we also may, as we start to drill into the building component, which of course, or I should say the renovation component, which is enormous here. There is a school of thought where we build it and this is what you get too.
What?
I mean, I'm not trying to overstep myself here, but as opposed to saying we'll custom build for every new potential tenant. I mean, it doesn't always work that conveniently. But there is, I love the way Chip has laid out the way the building could work.
That's right.
It might be the most efficient version.
Nick, I hear your concern that we're focused too much on JLE. Is there another business development initiative that it's a smaller marble that you'd like to roll forward?
Well, that's the whole point. I don't know. I mean, because we've spent the last better part of a year focusing on John L. Edwards, I don't want us to leave our core mission.
Well, I don't either.
And that's what for expanding the board may actually allow us to meet more of our core mission. That's what I meant.
Okay.
That's what I was
That
going
and,
with.
the business roundtables was an attempt to do
Yeah.
that, and we were doing quite well in that regard, because we did bring in a couple of people from outside Hudson. When we started them, it was gather together the business people for a coffee in the morning when Vista started it, actually, and
Right.
it started off where everyone was happy to be together and they never had the opportunity to talk, and then it disintegrated into like a big nasty fish festival. So we decided that we would try to make it more like a TED Talk, so have someone come, speak for 20 minutes on a topic that was relevant to Hudson business, which was retail, hospitality, entertainment, and I forget what the other one, culture. And try to enlighten us on that. And we did have a couple of people. We had Chris Sardone, who was a jobs person, came and Martha hooked us up with him, and he gave a very good talk about jobs. We had the gentleman who's in charge of tourism for the tourism organization in the state of New York, and he enlightened us with lots of great stats on how powerful Columbia County is in terms of revenue from visitation and tourism, and what the potential is there. And I do think the potential for that, I'm not talking about making more weddings happening here, but there are other things that we could be doing in our mission that would bring more people up here on the Sundance Films model, which is something that happens in Hudson once a year that brings people for, a purpose, and they spend money and they stay and they they love it, and then there's merchandise affiliated with it, and it's a year-round thing. So something like that could still be happening, but it just became the last two, I mean, originally it was myself and Alex Petreggi of the Hudson Business Coalition that were organizing it. And he did the graphics and I did the asking. And that worked great. And then, when we included the chamber to try to get them to help, because they have a membership we thought we could tap into and bring some of their new members that are here for business conversation. And we just haven't been able to pull the trigger on that for some reason. And I don't know if it has to do with this year, the election, what it is, but something is stalled out. And everybody that I've called has committed their schedule already, or they can't get away, so we are talking about having another get-together, as I said earlier, and we'll see, maybe that's a good take the temperature kind of meeting where we can understand how the business community feels. That would be good, right?
I think so.
Okay.
Maybe we should send an email blast out to them
Well,
before the next meeting.
Yeah.
And see if they'll attend
Well, we would send it out to the chamber's email list, to the business coalition list, and to our list, which is really minimal.
encouraging them to come to the meeting.
I mean, which meeting?
That's a general board meeting to get a sense,
Oh, I
like
don't
they
know
used to,
about
remember that?
that. I don't know about that. Take it easy.
Remember the yelling?
I do. I don't forget the yelling. You. Okay, anybody else have any other business to discuss? Thank you, Tom, for coming. We always like to have you here.
I'm a member,
I know you are. You've been staying.
7 years.
I know. All right, anything else? Okay, can I have a motion the next meeting will be, we're gonna have a meeting in November because we're doing too much work.
Thanksgiving.
The next meeting will be Thanksgiving Day. No, the next meeting will be
November 26th.
November 26th. Six, okay.
Day after my birthday.
What is it?
The day after my birthday.
Oh, we'll have
And
a
the day
birthday
before
meeting.
Kirby's.
We'll have a birthday meeting.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
That makes it easy.
I know.
It's always on
It's
Thursday.
Thanksgiving.
November 28th.
Oh,
okay.
28th, so 2 days later, okay.
Is that, the tradition here?
Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn the October meeting? All first,
Oh, yeah?
Brett,
Yeah.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Did anybody attend the Zoom?
No, not today.
You guys, are we doing a holiday
party?
Do you have any copies?
What's that?
We do a
Yeah, this
holiday
is the
party?
best stuff to work on.
We be planning that now?
Well, Tiffany does for me, but
I know, no, no.
This is a party planning committee.
No, no, no.